I've reviewed quite a few electric bikes now, and of all of them, the most well-rounded bike I've used so far is the Jayceon. It's the quietest electric bike I've ridden, has a killer battery life, can reach over 30 miles an hour, has a 60-mile range, you sit in a very comfortable, almost perfect 90 degrees. Honestly, I can go on, but I'll just say this. This bike spec-wise is not the best bike I've reviewed. But this company took everything that makes an electric bike good and perfected it to give you the most optimal experience and for one of the best prices. For $950 you get a ton of features, and they just added 2 more for the same price.
So Jayceon just sent me the new components that are shipping with the bike. Now they were going to send these with the bike originally, but the manufacturer didn't have them ready yet. So they told me that later on, when they had the rear rack and the fenders, they were going to ship them to me and let everybody know that for the same price, this is all coming with the bike. So let's assemble these and see what it looks like.
The only tools you'll need are a Phillips screwdriver, 2 Allen keys, a 5 and 3mm, then a socket wrench with size 10 and 8mm sockets. Once you have these, we can begin. So let's start with the fenders.
So I recommend starting off by putting this guy in first. It's a real pain to put this horseshoe and then this metal strip in there while it's on, and I realized that while I did it the first time. So definitely want to put that on first.
Assembling these fenders is very easy. They're marked so you know which one goes up front and which one is for the back. Once you have them assembled, you can fit them into place and tighten them down. The first fender has a thin metal bracket that's held up by the same bolt that holds the front light in place. Once that's secured, you can take the metal arm that feeds through the bottom portion of the fender and thread those into the body of the bike.
So these are the screws that we're going to put in here. This is our number 5, and these holes are actually pre-threaded, so they knew that this was going to go in here. So all we have to do is put this in, washer goes in here. Yep, and then we just thread it through.
With fender number 1 complete, it was now time to move on to fender number 2.
So this part's going to be a tiny bit trickier. There's a screw that's going to go right here, and then there's actually a screw that's going to go in here right next to the tire, which makes it impossible to get this in there. So you're going to want to use a wrench instead, and it'd be nice if you had a torque wrench. And luckily, I have a torque wrench that is 5/16, which matches the head of this. So I got lucky. I'm hoping Jayceon will send you all the tools you need to get this done. So let's do this.
The rear fender has a bracket on the back that's bolted into the back frame of the bike. This will help hold the fender up off the wheel. Once that's tight, there's another one under the frame that's a bit harder to get to. Once those are in place, you can take the arms and thread those into the body of the bike, and with that, the fenders are in.
All right, the fenders are now on, and it's starting to look really good. So the next step is this back rack, and I think this is going to be the easy part.
I remember saying in my first video about this bike how easy the assembly process is. They really engineered this bike to make it as stupid-proof as possible. You basically sit the rear rack in place, take your bolts, and thread them in. Make sure not to tighten these bolts until you have them all in place. It'll make it a bit easier on you. Now that the fenders and rear rack are on the bike, we can move on to some of the most essential accessories for these electric bikes. The first thing is a water bottle holder. Now I know it's a small thing and probably a no-brainer, but this really has been a game changer for long rides around the different cities I visit. This next thing is a 2-parter. This is a Cloud 9 seat, and it is very comfortable. The seats that come stock with these electric bikes are fine, but I've never gotten sore on this thing, and every time I get a new bike that I like more, I always switch the seat over. Along with that, I got myself a suspension seat post. See, this bike has suspension in the front, which is adjustable. It has suspension in the rear, which is also adjustable, and I figured that'd be enough. But 3-point suspension sounded too good to pass up. This is a 33.9mm seat post. It's also adjustable, and it's done a lot for lengthy rides. I also have this 16mm Kryptonite bike chain to ensure my bike stays secure when I lock it up in town. Kryptonite claims that bolt cutters can't break through these chains, and I keep mine wrapped around my bike. Of course, we also have bike mirrors, and there are 3 different types of these. You have the ones that screw into the handlebars, ones that attach to the handlebars, and then the ones that clip onto your helmet. I decided not to put mirrors on this bike yet, but if I do, I'm gonna go for these ones. I don't have to cut into the handlebars of the bike, and though they take up some space, they're easy to adjust and remove if I don't want to use them. The last thing is the bike helmet. This is the X-Nito bike helmet, and it's specifically made for electric bikes. Regular bike helmets are fine, but this company wanted to ensure that they made a helmet that offered more coverage of your entire head and also will ensure protection at electric bike speeds. I also love the vintage look of the Valkyrie helmet. If you're interested in any of these accessories, I'll have the links to all of them in the description. And if you like the Jayceon, I'll leave the link to that as well. Thank you guys so much and ride safe out there.